kind of numbers do you have? How many people come to those?
It's been all over the board. Some of them have been a small group of maybe 6 or 7 people up to we've done, 15 to 20 in a group. It just depends. Oftentimes when we're close to a campaign, we get more people, obviously, because we've got a lot of, newer hosts at that point in time. But we haven't had a major campaign kickoff in a while, but we've been pushing for new groups. So I'm hopeful that we'll get quite a few this time.
Yeah, and again, I just pushed record so we can jump into some logistics for some of our CLs that aren't here to be able to listen. So we've been talking about host leader training July 28th. It's going to be taught in one sitting. And one of the things that we really love about this training is it's taught in a small group setting. So this is different than class. We love class. It's super important. But class is a lot of content and a lot of note taking. This is about 20-minute segments of teaching, and then there's group discussion at your table. So it's kind of like how you would be in a small group where you absorb some information for 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then you discuss. So the learning, I think, is a lot more significant and a lot greater at that point. So again, if you're a new CL, we'd love to have you come to this training. You might be able to meet some of your hosts. There. Love to have you join me for that. So on and so forth. So yeah, it's a great opportunity to do that. So Marie and I will be teaching that, and we love to get you involved. So it's going to be good.
I haven't been to that in many years. So I'm thinking that it'd be a good thing for me to invite some hosts, tell them that I'm going to go and see if I can get them to show up.
Yes, it'll be
great idea.
Great refresher for you, but it's a great leadership development, honestly.
Yeah.
In that, as you bring some of these hosts on board and get to connect with them and pour into them, encourage your host to bring a co-leader. Well, I don't have a co-leader. Great. This is a perfect time to start thinking about that. Ask one of your hosts who you see takes a lot of ownership of the group, who's, as committed to the group as you are, and you see potential in them, invite them to come with you, and you're on your way to having that co-leader. So yeah, great opportunity to do that.
What time is it at?
11 to 2. So we're going to have lunch. It'll be in the cafe.
How would they sign up for it, Pastor Jim?
Great
How
question.
do we sign up for it?
So it's on the website. So if you scroll down to July 28th on our event calendar, it's there. But part of our homework, spoiler alert, at the end of our meeting is a big part of our push this summer over the next 2 weeks as we reach out and connect with our groups. I put together a little talking points or email basically for you to send to your groups.
Right.
So love for you to, maybe there's 2 or 3 groups that you can call and invite personally, because maybe you know them, you get a chance to pour into them. But it might be a little much to call every single host and invite them, depending on how many groups you have, just with summer going on. But we're going to send a blanket email to them. But I'd love for you to invite 2 or 3 of your hosts to join you there or to come to the training. So yeah, it'll be a great time. So yeah, so you'll get more info and you'll get the link. I'm going to email that out to you shortly with your next steps.
Cool. Thank you.
Great. All right. So a big part of what we're wanting to do in this season, I don't know if you guys realize this or not, but our small groups team, we've been growing a lot lately. The beginning of the year, we sent off a couple CLs. We sent off Dan Gennady, Tim and Charlene Hance to help Yorba Linda get started. So we dropped from about 12 or so CLs down to 9 or 13 to 10, I forget which. And since then, we've grown to about 18 CLs. We've added a lot of folks lately. We've added 2 couples. We've added quite a few individuals, Susan, Peter, Pat, and a few others I'm probably forgetting. So it's been really exciting to see all this growth. But with that, I think the big challenge right now is to make sure that we're all equipped and trained and ready to go, ready to move forward with what God has for us. All this growth is telling me that there's some great things in the future, exciting things that God wants to do. He's going to bring more groups this way. Our campus continues to grow, and we need to continue to be ready for all that growth that's coming. So this just tells me that God is, preparing us for more stages of growth along the way. So I just want to run through a couple things real quick to make sure that we are all on the same page on these, but also this is the time to ask if you don't know something, to say, hey, I don't know about that yet, or hey, I need this, and so on and so forth. And we'll make note, in your CL mentor or your CL trainer, especially if you're a new CL, your CL team, Vicky and Quint, will help you implement those processes. So first off, hopefully everybody knows the CL links page. That's the page that allows you to access all the different links and stuff that we have. Do you guys have that bookmarked on your web browser yet, the CL links page?
Yes.
If they've been through training, they have. If they haven't, they don't yet.
Okay. So just want to make sure you have that as a reference and that you can access that if you need it at some point. Also, I think everybody here is on GroupMe that's here with us today. I think a couple of the folks that are going to listen in later are probably not on GroupMe. So Quentin and Vicky will continue to help make sure that they're connected to GroupMe. I think there's a couple of you that would like a Saddleback volunteer email account, and I think I've dropped the ball on that. So I want to pick up the torch on that again and make sure that we get that resolved. So who is looking to get at Saddleback volunteer email account?
Cherry.
Say again?
Cherry.
Okay, Cherry's looking for that. And who else?
I had one a long time ago. Would it still be active? I had it because of Financial Peace University. They activated in 6-month timeframes. So it's
their
not
way of
active now.
keeping the email the email numbers active, so to speak, in terms of if they issued a bunch of emails and people stopped serving, but they had the email. So every 6 months you have to re-time it up. Which I was joking with Quint, what a great idea for our groups to keep our numbers active. Your group is about to expire. Click this button to keep the group active for the next.
Not a bad idea.
It might help.
Yeah, it might help. So who knows? Maybe we'll do that someday, but I don't see that happening in the near future. But it's a great idea.
I need one, Jim.
Yes.
I need one. Sue.
Okay. So Sue needs one as well. Anybody else here want? Pat, did you say you wanted one at some point?
Yeah, yes, I have one. I just haven't activated it.
Okay, so I already gave.
I got the email.
Okay.
Okay.
And
So
Ivan and Sunghae, I think you guys wanted one too, right?
Actually, we're good. We have too many email accounts, and we've been corresponding with our own personal accounts, and it's been working.
Great. That's great. This is not a requirement. Just some people would like it and some people don't, and that's fine. So, so if you're listening in after this meeting on YouTube and you like one, please email me and I'll send that in with the rest of the names here.
So
Okay.
Jim, you'll put me on the list?
Yes, I'll put you on the list.
Thank you.
Great. What we'll probably want to do, Anne, with that, just so you know, is when we activate your email, we're going to want to update Healthy Church, that's your primary email in terms of getting Saddleback emails too.
Right.
Because when we pull you from Group Manager or from Healthy Church to Group Manager, it's going to look to see what emails in the database, and it'll have to be that volunteer one. So you'll start getting all your Saddleback stuff in one spot.
That's perfect.
So great.
Thank
Considering we love sending correspondence at Saddleback, right? So
you. Yes, of course.
put it in one spot. Great. Okay, so email account GroupMe. For you new CLs, I strongly suggest that you make sure that you have a test small group in Group Manager. That way you can practice sending your emails. That way you can practice changing data in the group and stuff like that. So Vicky and Quint, let's make sure that all the new CLs have that. If you're a CL that's been here for a little bit and you'd like one too to practice with, that's great. It's pretty easy to start a group. When you log into Group Manager there, it's one of the main buttons above the search feature. When you type in, the pastor name, the CL name, the campus, right above it, there's a couple buttons, and one of them says start a small group. So you can literally start a group, select yourself, create it, and then that way you can practice sending your email through the system. You can make changes to the group, and you're not concerned about messing up someone's group. So just make sure you consider that as a chance to practice. Does that sound good? Would that be helpful for you guys? Great, I'm seeing some head nods. Okay, awesome. one more thing I just want to think about. I know we emphasized this a little while back, but I want to re-emphasize it again over the next couple months. For us to continue to remember that first and foremost, our role is to pray for our groups. And if you're thinking, okay, I sent out my host training email and I'm good for the next 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever, actually, I would love for us to start thinking, oh, that's a great amount of time for me to pray for my groups, right? It's something that God calls us to, and he wants us to be spending a lot of time praying for our groups and knowing our groups, especially through prayer, and lifting them up in prayer often. Because that's the greatest thing that we have to give to our groups before we even call, before we even send emails and all that stuff, is that they're covered in prayer. Satan hates small groups. He doesn't like that people gather in community. He'd rather be us isolated and alone and on our own. But there's a lot of power through small group community, and we know that. That's why we're serving. That's why we're doing what we're doing. But I just want to remind us that please consider praying for your groups often. And I'm going to prompt you guys on that in the weeks and months to come, is to be thinking, how can we be praying and really lifting our groups up in prayer? And that's going to change everything. That's going to change how we relate to them, how we connect with them, how we communicate with them. So really excited for us to continue to go in that direction. Anybody have any thoughts on the topic of prayer, of how you've seen prayer, work through your small group ministry?
Well, I know that it's really encouraging to our hosts for them to know that. Mm-hmm. And I sent out a card, I think at Easter time this year, to all of my hosts, and told them that I pray for them every Thursday. I just make a habit of praying for my hosts on Thursdays. And a lot of people came to me and talked to me about that, and were grateful about it. So yeah, I think it makes a big difference for them to know it as well as for us to do it.
Yeah. And as one of Anne's hosts, I loved getting that card. That was wonderful.
Thank you. Very good. Thank you. I even sent it at the right time of the year. Just for information.
Yes.
It was wonderful.
So yeah, just think about, I know I send out correspondence for you to send out roughly once a month or so, every 6 weeks. But man, if at some point you want to shoot them a text, write them a card, send them a courier pigeon or something that just says, nobody heard the last one. Okay.
I did.
But yeah, just do something like that where you're sending them a specific note saying, hey, appreciate what you're doing. We're praying for you. And those timely little personal notes really help. So that's great. I just sent you all an email. Just one more little piece of detail to work through. I sent you all an email with just the formation. Our team's continuing to form and take shape as we continue to grow. And so I just wanted to remind you guys of that and that breakdown. Quent, I would love maybe if we can make another link page on our CL links page that has a breakdown of our team and where people are at and who's caring for them on the team. Basically, I just don't want to be a bottleneck for your development and growth. And so I was seeing that training was a bigger thing than myself. So I knew Vicki and I knew Quent have a huge heart for training, a huge heart for equipping. So I've asked them to mentor, so to speak, the new CLs. So they are teaching and training together, but the follow-up care, we've broken them down by gender. So Vicki's helping care for Sue and Patricia, Cherry as well, and Sung Hae. And then Quent's also helping Tavis and Ivan and Peter as they get started. Obviously, the two of them are training this group together, but they're also connecting with them. And the idea is that this would be like a 6-month phase of helping equip them and get them going. And then we move them on to kind of a veteran CL status. And maybe at some point, some of you new CLs will want to help mentor and care for new CLs coming in. That's great. But this is just how we're breaking it down for now. And Ann Delgadillo and David Rincon, as you see there, are taking care of some veteran groups. So if you're one of those veteran CLs that have these folks here, and you might be a little embarrassed to ask me a question about how to send an email, feeling like, oh, maybe I should already know that, ask David or Ann, and they will help you out there. So sound good? Any questions off of that?
Could I interject here?
Yes.
as David and I are working together, we work at the table on Sundays a lot, and we really would like to get more hosts or more CLs to come and volunteer at the table with us. I just want to let you guys know that I'm willing to meet anybody that wants to try it and check it out at any service, and be there for you and do that multiple times so that you can be comfortable with it and see if it's a good fit for you. But really all we do is share groups with people, talk with people, encourage them. It's really, I think, the greatest job to have on a weekend. And the people that surround you that are volunteering are great. And whenever I come, I'm often tired and have had a hard week, and I leave there very refreshed. So I highly recommend it and hope you'll consider it.
Serving at the small group table and that connection center is kind of like having a pulse on our church in many ways, because a lot of the regulars, they typically don't go over there because they don't have a question to ask. So it's been really fun. I mean, sometimes there are, but it's been really fun to connect with a lot of newer visitors or people that are been attending for a little bit, but this is their first time kind of reaching out to the church, and it's just really exciting to see what God's doing. One thing,
Jim, could I?
yes,
two things there. One, I second everything that Ann said, and Ann does a terrific job. Part of your training is working at the table. During our regular training, when we get together for a couple of sessions, we don't cover the table. So add to that working at the table. So now I don't want to make this sound negative, but here's the realistic situation. We do not cover every shift. We have pushing 20 CLs, and we can cover usually 2 to 3 of our weekend shifts. Some shifts there's just nobody there. That's not, I mean, if we didn't have chocolate chip cookies some Saturday, that would be bad. But working at the table, and what do I mean by training? It's like, can you be trained on where to get the key, where the computer is, how to turn the computer on? So some of this is really, really simple. And part of it is how to answer the questions that a typical person gives. And really, we've really only got 4 people who work at the table: Ann, Vicki, David, and David. Right. So 4 out of 19 is really not what Jim is hoping for. It would be nice if we were able to have at least 1 person for every service. You can't do that until you've been trained. So end of story there. But please sign up. Now, if you haven't been trained, you don't know what I'm talking about. But I looked just before the conference here, and we have for this weekend, today and tomorrow, 2 of our 4 services covered. We'll serve at 2 services, and we won't have anybody there at 2 of the services. So that's realism. This is one of the most important things we do, and Jim would never say it, but we fail miserably at doing this extremely important job. I hope Jeremiah is not listening to us now. Okay, I liked it. You know, everybody knows me. I'm a positive guy, but I like to tell it like it is, and I think you understood what I just said. End of message.
I do want to say one thing, though. Renee and Sue have both come to the table and been volunteering. They didn't sign up because I think they just weren't secure about doing that yet. But I did talk to Sue about it, and she's going to start signing up. And Renee is definitely volunteering and doing a good job, too.
Great.
So shout out to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann and David, for helping out with that. Just one little note for you guys. When I was hanging out with Sue at the table, I think it was last weekend, I mentioned the church reference guide to her, and that was new for her to see and very helpful. So for any new CLs coming on board, Ann and David or Quint, who's over there, just let them, give them a church reference guide to use, because it helps with a lot of the miscellaneous questions that come our way. So just add that. I know it's not specifically groups related, but it does help with the random questions we get. So just a little FYI on that. Great. All right, so thank you guys for your help with that. And then what I'd like to dive into right now is talking a little bit more about how we can improve our ability to communicate with our host through email. So I'm going to email you a note that has some talking points on it and your assignment for this month. So let me send that your way. Make sure it's sent. Yep. Okay. David Urbina helped me with this, some talking points as it relates to sending out communication to our host. And I don't know if you guys are aware of this, just the little research that was done, and David was given some insight too, but the average attention span for reading an email is anywhere between 8 to 11 seconds. Not a lot of time, right? Not a lot of time to get your point across. So, and I would say the average attention span is not long. So if there's something in the email that maybe captures their attention or communicates an importance, someone would be willing to read longer. But if it doesn't capture their attention in those first couple minutes, or seconds actually, then people are not going to read the notes. So you'll see the notes there that we have. And again, thank you, David, for sending some feedback here. So here's what I want us to think about as we send communication and as we communicate with our hosts and how it can be helpful to them. First and foremost, having a personal note is extremely important. So what I love about the software that we use to send emails is it allows you to do that with every host in the click of a button, literally, that you can send an email to a bunch of folks and it comes to them personally. And when I send those notes out, I get responses back from people that seem to think, and I know most of us probably would realize, oh, that's not necessarily a personal note, but several of our hosts think it is. And so they'll email me back personally. If I'm inviting them to leader training, and they may say, oh, I'm so sorry I can't come because of blah, 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 blah. And it was more of, I was just letting you know about it. But they think I was saying, hey, Marie, can you come to host training? Or Quint, can you come? And they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't make it. So really providing that personal note allows that to happen. So personalize your emails to your host. And sometimes if I'm sending with a class, I meet a lot of people at Class 101. And as I'm sending out those follow-up notes that are kind of form emails, sometimes I'll put a PS in there. Hey, it was so great meeting you this weekend, or thanks for telling me your story. Have a good day. So with something that is form, I try to add a personal note to help them see that I'm aware of sending this note to them. Another thing that's helpful is keeping the email short. I really try to, I need to do a better job of this, but I do try to think this way of how can I remove stuff from my email? So as I type out my thoughts, then I try to go back in and see what can I delete? Like it's probably too long. What can I remove to simplify the note? So as you're thinking, as someone's reading a note, you have 8 seconds to capture their attention. So I sometimes try to use bullet points when possible so people can scan that. Also keep in mind that most people, they're reading off of one of these, right? So they're reading their email on their phone. So to us, that's a somewhat small email, might actually come across as longer. And so when I do a test email to my test group, because I have a test group as well, and I email that, I'll usually try to read it on my phone because I'm like, oh, that's a little long. I should probably shorten it. So try to keep it personal, try to keep it short. Also, this is something that I love doing is I use the subject header to capture attention. Maybe asking a question in your subject header or letting people know what they're going to receive when they open the email. Here's more information on such and such in this email. Encouraging your host through a subject header or say something that might capture their attention. But ask yourself, why would this person want to open my email? Do they want to get another, email in their inbox? And I know we're kind of climbing up, swimming upstream or climbing a mountain here because email does saturate, but it is one of our avenues of communication. Another time we'll talk about how to improve, phone conversations as well. So we're going to hit all the different communication avenues, but try to think about how you can use your subject header to maybe capture attention or communicate a need to them or help them see the benefit of opening that email. Consider making your email scannable. Highlight or bold most important parts of your email. Another way to say it is I like to think, I know most of us don't read newspapers these days, but what is the value of a newspaper? There's a lot of information, but you can consume a lot of it quickly, right? Because there's a subject line, there's maybe a couple sentences underneath that's a little bit larger than the regular print. And so it allows you to scan to see what you want to see. So a lot of times when I send an email, I'll bold or highlight my main points. So that way people can kind of scan the email without having to read it all. So I try to make it feel a little bit like a newspaper minus the pictures. So just keep that in mind. And then another thing is when we have like a call to action, you know, that tends to help too. Click on this link for more information, or, you know, for more information, email me back and I'll send you, you know, the rundown of everything, or sign up at this link, or, you know, we have 2 questions for your group. Can you let us know about, or what's a prayer request or something like that. So there's a call for action from them. And I notice the times that I send an email that there's not a call to action, I don't get much of a response. But if there is a call to action, I'll typically. So those are a couple notes there. David, do you want to add anything to the conversation? Oh, hold on a second. You're muted. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I just want to emphasize the importance of the subject line. That'll initiate the person opening their email, first of all. And you really want to generate some sort of action. You know, if you're sending them a communication, you want, obviously, them to do something with that. So that, you know, does a couple of things. It gets them to respond to your email, gets them activated in terms of reading and responding to it. But it also kind of, I guess, trains them a little bit in terms of, you know, what to do in the future when they do receive emails from us. So it creates that kind of, I can't say habit, but the type of response you want every time you send them an email. Again, you know, people are, I forgot what the statistic is. As much as 66% of people are opening up their emails on a tablet or a smartphone. So it's real important, again, to your point, Jim, to make sure that you know, they can see the content on their small device, you know, completely accurately, whatever, but they can read that, so it doesn't discourage them from going on and looking at your email. What else did I have down there? Personalization is real important, and I'm glad that we can do that through the email you know, process that we have in place. But, you know, those are some of the key points. There's some of the basic things, but they're really important. I've, you know, kind of used these 5 points in setting up CRMs in the past for past employers and for clients, and it improves the open rate, and that's what we're looking for. We're not looking for 100%. That's impossible, but we can certainly improve it by, you know, initiating some of these points that I provided. So, you know, I hope it's helpful, but I think, you know, we'll see. I think the best thing to do at this point, Pastor Jim, is to, you know, obviously is to test to see what actually works for us. It's a little bit different in this type of environment than it is in the business environment. So I think that would be helpful.
Yes, and I am pulling up GroupMe right now, not GroupMe, Group Manager, to show you guys how when you're sending out notes, you can see what kind of open rate you have with your group. So I should have had this logged in, but let me screen share and I'll show you guys where to find it. Okay, share screen. Okay. All right, can you guys see?
Yes.
Yep.
My Group Manager here. So literally, when you go up to menu here and you click on email campaigns, you can see everybody, you know, has, oh, Anne's already testing, or no, that was a little while back. No, that's today. Summer ideas for your group. So Anne's already testing with her group a note here. But let's type in me for now. And it pulls up, or you type in your name, and it pulls up the emails that you've sent and it shows the open rate. So last note I sent was 45% open rate, 47. What is this one? This one was 56, 78. So you see, when I email in smaller chunks, I get a higher open rate than if I email to every single group. So I think that was one of David's points along the way, is sometimes if you subgroup your communication, your correspondence. So like Ivan and Sung Hae, they have 20s and 30s groups. So they have like a little subgroup. But for some of us, we may have married groups, we may have, singles groups, or we have, couples or men's or women's or whatever. So if you're able to see, hey, here's something that's coming up, and you can communicate, I can communicate the host training to these 10 of my, groups in a little bit more specific way than I would if I was sending an email to all 25. You typically get a higher open rate because it relates more to them. So
that's a very good point. That'll increase your open rate as well.
Yeah, so for me, sending a note to like all the groups, it's a little harder to get as high of an open rate. I hit 45 to 55% in some of these, but when I send that out to, and actually this reminds me of something I forgot to put in my notes. So I sent out an email to, as a small group host, who is your new best friend? And that was introducing some of our new CLs. I'd love to do that with all of us, where you guys just send me a picture of yourself, and then I send that out to your groups this summer, just to refresh and remind your host who's caring for them. So you see the open rates were much higher for some of those correspondents. So yeah, so think of how you can subgroup too. Maybe I'm going to talk about something that's coming up this summer with Saddleback Anaheim soon. You might have some family groups or some folks that you think would really connect with that. You can send them a note on the site about it, and you'll probably get a higher percentage than if you send it to all your groups. So just keep that in mind. So that's how you can find your open rate, and where that is just type in your name under, go to menu, email campaigns, and you can search by your name for what your open rate is. So as you start to implement these things, you might start to notice a little bit higher open rate as you do them. So this just gives you a barometer in which to do that.
Great ideas. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so with that, your homework, I would say, is twofold. I included that in your email that I just sent, your next correspondence. But I'd love for you to send me a picture, a photo of yourself that I can send to your groups, just saying who's your best friend as a host. And it's really about, elevating you, introducing you, encouraging you as the CL. And for those of you who are on our social media Facebook group, I'll do a post there as well and tag your groups to the post so they can see you and you can see them. But that's one of our next steps. And then the second next step is your homework assignment. We're going to be promoting host leader training. So I love to have you guys do this in the next 2 weeks. So it's pretty easy to send out the note. I put a subject line here: change in your group starts with you. So kind of piques their interest. What does that mean? I want to see change in my group. I want to see my group grow. So maybe they'll open it up. And so you'll see I just put in bold a couple of points, the link to register, and then a PS for those that want to read that far.
Hey, Jim, I'm just looking at that title subject.
Yeah.
Maybe can it say something like, instead of change in your group, because if I'm a host and I get that and I don't think my group needs to change.
Yeah.
That might
what do you guys suggest? Growth in your small group?
So maybe, growing your small group, or maybe something else. I can't think of the right word right now.
Okay.
But
I'll resend that out. Growing your small group starts with you.
Or growth in your small group, or does anybody have a better way of saying it?
Yeah, I love that. Growth in your small group starts with you. Okay. So I'll resend that subject line to you guys in a little bit. But any questions on the homework assignment there, sending out that note? Nope. Okay, I'll resend it. I just saw another little error in my correspondence in the the notes to you guys, so I'll make that change too. So yeah, I'd love to have you guys send that out. And again, if you have 2 or 3 hosts that you would like to personally invite, feel free to invite them. And if they maybe have already taken the host training, just say, well, do you have a co-leader? And they're like, no, not yet. Say, well, consider inviting your co-leader to have them come. So, or I don't have a co-leader. Well, great. And who in your group can help you lead the group and invite that person to get trained by our team. So that'll be a great next step. Let's see. Oh, one more thing. I want to talk about summer real quick with small groups, just in sharing some stories right now. There's on the social media page, you may have seen there's 2 small groups recently that, hey, Troy, if you've been doing that for a couple minutes, I was looking at my notes and I didn't notice. That's awesome. I'm going to go back and replay that later since I'm recording this. This is perfect. Oh, no.
What is he doing? I'm missing it.
Troy, Thor was going like this. I was looking at my notes and I didn't see it. He could have been doing that for 3 minutes and I didn't know it. So anyways, there's a lot of exciting things coming up this summer. For those of you who haven't heard, we are changing how we do main event this summer. So because we are down 1 staffing position in our children's ministry right now, we didn't think it was a wise idea to run our normal summer program that's like VBS basically, this, half day or 2/3 day, fun activities that are, awesome. But we were trying to think of what can we do that's still fun and awesome for the kids, but maybe loop in the families too. So that's one of the things that we're really excited about. So what's going to happen is all the month of July on Wednesday night, oh gosh, I can't remember what we're calling it. We might be calling it family night or something like that. And it's basically, if you have kids, if you have teenagers, you can drop them off for some fun programming. And then as an adult, you can learn a little bit more about relationships, learn a little bit more about parenting. We have some incredible speakers that are coming. Mike Foster, I don't know him super well, but I see him all over Facebook, a Christian author, has some great resources on marriage. Doug Fields is going to come teach on parenting, which is going to be awesome. And then Kay Warren is going to be coming as well and teaching on how to, raise basically resilient kids and mental health and all that stuff. So going to be very applicable, very exciting. So all the month of July and possibly the first Wednesday in August, you'll see the banners there.
It's called Summer Nights.
Yeah, so Summer Nights is happening as well. So maybe the whole branding is called Summer Nights, but there's a Wednesday, Saturday option. I forget exactly how that all panned out. So Saturday nights are going to be like normal. We're going to have, the luau. We're going to have, I think, a Disney night, a circus night, and all that stuff. So there's going to be some fun stuff on Saturday nights. But in addition to that, Wednesday night is going to be our time for connecting with families. So this actually is a really great thing for us to push as well. And sorry, sometimes you have to be fast, fluid, and flexible around here. I'm wondering if the family nights thing would be a better push this week or in the next week or two for us to get out to our groups, and then the host training would probably be best right after that. So let me do some work on that. We're probably going to I'll probably put together a little bit of content for you guys to send out about the summer nights, because that's the big critical mass move initially. But I think right after that, we push host training as well. It's super important, host training. Love for you guys to be there. But any questions on the summer nights deal?
Do you know if people, is there a capacity that they can take kid-wise?
I'm not aware of that. There is a cost, but it's like a cost per
$20.
I'm not aware of it being broken down by individual costs. I think they're about $20. So it provides some of the, the snacks, the supplies, and all that stuff, not only on the student kids side, but also your binder, whatever kind of training, resourcing, content is being put, on the adult side. So it's not a big cost. Yeah, it'd be nice if it was free, but we had to do something for this. But I think there'll be a lot of people that are excited.
It's $20 per family for each session.
We'll be there.
Great. Yeah. So $20 per session. And I think you'll really enjoy that, especially if you have little kids or want to learn a little bit more about relationships and marriage and all that kind of stuff. So, and the goal behind it is not just, oh, this is only for married people. This is for anybody that wants to learn about how to have better relationships. So they're going to try to present it that way as well. So great. So that's a big push. I will probably update you guys on that and make sure that we send that out first, but have the host training coming out shortly thereafter that as well. And then one more thing, I'm going to be sending you guys this week. We have about 19 or 20, I think. Is that right, Quint? Hosts that are open groups that we need to get some info on?
Right, and without going into detail, let me just introduce, we have another big problem is that we are not able to place all our interests in groups. And one reason that's true is that we thought we had a lot of groups that are open, but they're really not meeting. Mm-hmm. So Jim, is that a lead in to what you, we do have, this is not a meeting where we're going to talk about problems, but be sure you pay attention to that because we've got lots of open groups who have never, ever been contacted. And I kind of want to, Jim, be sure you don't forget to let Ivan give his report because he knows what the word contact means. And he's going to tell you about some problems and some successes, but kind of a good report from a new CL. Yes.
Great. And that's, and I think the story was that you, Ivan, you had a story to share on that?
Yes. And when I say we, it's really my wife, not necessarily me. So we have 17 groups in the 20s and 30s. And I think it was this past week that my wife contacted all 17 of them. And out of the 17, she got a hold of 6. Mm-hmm. And we really just took the strategy of calling, have a phone call and see if we can get a hold of folks. And she got the chance to talk with 6. Some of them were very short conversations. Some of them were quite long, 30 to 45 minutes even. Great. And just introducing ourselves to them. And the other one she left a message for, and I know she updated all those notes on the website. So it's a good start, but I agree with what Quint's saying. I think there's a lot of folks out there that we've discovered that just aren't meeting. And so we have to go and update the group and make sure that the data is accurate.
Yep.
So can I ask, did you discover that, did you reach someone and they told you they're not meeting anymore?
Yes. There's a couple that we got in touch with and said, oh, no, I've moved out of state. Or there was one couple, I believe, that says, we're still meeting, but it's just my family and we love Saddleback, but we live in Florida. And, we're just pulling the studies from the website and we're doing our small group as a family. But, they're not here locally.
Right, yeah. That's good information.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and again, when we say never been contacted, it's we're sending out email correspondence to them, but we don't have any record in Group Manager that they've responded. Mm-hmm. So it's basically one of us is talking, but the other is not saying anything or responding. So we're kind of dark and when it comes to some information. So making those calls so when I send you, like for example, I might be David Urbina, one of your hosts is, we haven't ever heard back from, can you reach out to them, make a call? Or, Sue, here's 2 groups that we need to, hear back from basically, because we don't know if they're still meeting. We've been sending them correspondence. And if you look in the contact log, last contact was however long ago, but Quint's point is that really a contact or is that really a one-way communication that's gone to them? So when we say never been contacted, it means we haven't heard back from them. So
just to confirm that, I use the word contact meaning two-way. In other words, when you send an email, if you send an email every day, every week to your host, and they don't respond, they haven't been contacted.
It's not a relationship.
And we have a lot of still open groups that meet at Sunday at midnight. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? And as I look at the group manager, it's like they have never been contacted.
Yeah.
Now, it's not pointing a finger necessarily at anybody, because we still have 50 plus groups who don't have a CL. They've been hanging out there forever and have never had a CL. And that's why we still need, I'd say, to double our team. Because, you know, as a CL, if you had twice as many groups as you have now, you would kind of throw up your arms and say, I can send a mass email to all 40 if it was 20 times 2, but really you wouldn't want to start calling 40 people on the phone. And we really need to, I'm having a big problem placing people. We just don't have enough open groups. And unfortunately, some of the groups I refer people to, they write back, just this one this morning, and I sent Ann the email that said, sorry, it's only open to our family. It's open to our family, but it's not open to anybody else. Well, I don't think we'd really call that an open group.
Yeah.
So I always have to apologize. I'm not the negative guy, I hope, but I'm the realistic guy. And when I get all these emails back, sometimes like a thread of 10 emails from an interested, this didn't work. It's like, what do I do next? So I'm really looking forward to spending time with our, and I'm sure Vicki would say the same thing, with our new CLs, Tavis and Cherry, you in particular. Great to welcome you on our team, and I'll be sending you an email when I get back home, and we can arrange for a place, maybe a church or your house or my house or something, where we can start going through some of the details. But it's a little tricky to be a CL. It's really not. It's not that it takes that much time, but you really have to be totally on board. Let me just say it that way. You have to have computer skills and people skills.
Yep. And so in regards to more groups in the future, I haven't heard anything about the Doors campaign and when that's going to happen, even if that is still going to happen. But just know that come September, end of September or something, we're going to be launching more groups at our campus if there's no campaign. Because I think that's where we're at as a community, is we need to be launching groups in the spring. We need to be launching them in the fall. And maybe at some point we'll figure out how to launch groups in the summer. But I think that's where we're at. So we have a ton of content in storage, Miracle of Mercy, especially. And I think mercy is a great topic for our culture right now. So I think that'll even still connect with people in a lot of ways. So we'll use that content and whatever else we come up with to launch more groups this fall. So more to come on that. We're in a little bit of a holding pattern, waiting to see what Rick does, but we're definitely excited about doing that at some point. So
Jim, I just wanted to say, I was just looking at the interested groups or interested people.
Yeah.
I've still got like 110 people that I'm trying to line up getting into groups, and like Quent's saying, we just don't have the groups. So
I think our verbiage is going to have to be more and more. I'm so sorry we don't have a group for you, but would you pray about starting a small group? And here's what we can do to help you do that. You won't be doing that alone. We'll have content. You'll have a team behind you, all that stuff. So
is there any way to look at, is there data on those groups that we can say there's 10 of you that all live in Anaheim? And maybe can we sort of be a Yentl and get them all together?
Marie, I would say yes, but I think first things first, we need to find out which groups are really open and meeting.
Yeah.
And it's always difficult to send an email to an interested who I look on Healthy Church. They've been coming for a couple of months and in a very nice way say, we'd like you to start a group. Yeah. It's really difficult for that to happen. I'm sorry we can't help you, but we participate in an existing group. We'd love to. I like the way Jim says that, but it's not the approach. It's not our first approach.
The first approach is to help them get connected to a group. And if that doesn't work, there is space to do that without forcing them or pressuring them that they have to do that. And then some of our on-campus studies are a spot too. But what were you going to say, Marie?
Well, I was just going to say, we've been having this issue for 5 years, at least that I've been involved. I mean, this is a constant issue where we don't know what groups are open. We have groups that aren't meeting, but they're on our list, and we have lots of interested. So I think we have to look at a little bit of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Is there something else we can do? So maybe, Jim, we think about hosting an evening at the campus and invite all the interesteds and let them know what we're doing under the auspice of, we want to try and maybe form some small groups here and bring them all together and just say, we don't have open groups, but you're all interested, and walk them through that night. How do you start a small group? What does it mean? And see if we can't make some connections, a little bit of like speed dating that night, and get them all together. And I think we have to try something different.
I agree.
That's a good idea.
I feel like, what do you guys think that would be a good summer project, or do you think that's a like end of summer?
I think that's good. I think one other thing we could add to that, we have a number of hosts, quite a few, who have been hosts for upwards of a year, maybe more than a year, and they're not members. We cannot open their group if they're not members. So that could be another phone campaign to contact these people by phone. And maybe maybe sometimes we say, oh, I took 101. I guess I forgot to sign the membership agreement. So it's not that difficult. And we really need to find out why we have over 50 groups meeting for over a year, and the members, the host is not a member. So that's another approach we could do.
We should be able to, maybe Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, look at that group that Quint is talking about of non-members and sort of query that with, did they take 101? I think that should be easy to figure out.
If they complete their membership, it should update in Group Manager. So most likely that information, I wouldn't say most likely, very, very likely that information is correct. Right, Quint?
It probably is. It's probably that they're missing, probably 90+% that they're missing one of the requirements for membership. And, a lot of them, I hate to say it, but it's been always true at Lake Forest. After a campaign where we have hundreds of people, like we had 200 new hosts, there are going to be a lot that drop off, and they do not fall off our list. They stay on our list until we find out whether they're really, I'm not actually, in many ways, not so much concerned right now about the closed groups because the urgency, I really hate turning people away and saying, we don't have a group for you. That's what hurts more than being a semi-policeman and trying to clean up the records. That's important, but anyway, that's my 2 cents. And while I have the floor, I apologize. If you have your chat window open, and if you are new, and Jim referred to our, I call it the index of content, the contents of everything that we need to know, or not by heart, but to have access to as a CL. So Tavis and Cherry, this may be new to you, I'm sure it is. If you follow that link, you'll see a page with a lot of stuff on it, and that'll kind of give you an idea of what the training is about. We'll go through a lot of that. And if anybody hasn't bookmarked that link, that's a good URL to bookmark.
Great. Just to follow up on these thoughts here, I love the sharing and these ideas. Marie, let's sidebar about a time to do if interested get together, and we can put a date on the calendar, and we can send out correspondence through the online groups, and Quint has a list, not online groups, online interesteds. And then Quint has a running tally from the table as well. We also got the list from the response cards on the weekend. So we have hundreds of names that we can send this to and see what kind of, if people are still hungry and interested, they're going to show up. So
we can even show that video, the video about how to start a group that night.
Quick start.
So I do apologize, though. I have to duck out because I have to get to a work event. But
all right.
Good to see all
Thanks,
of you.
Murray. Good seeing you.
Offline, Jim, on that. Maybe Susan, Jim, and we can talk about that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
An event.
Then Quint, let's send me the list of the non-member groups again, and we'll do some specific follow-up with them this week.
Okay, if you have access to my snapshot for June 1st.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, that's 3 weeks old now, but it's probably very accurate. Yeah. Just sort that by the column that shows became a member and where there's no entry.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah.
Any other thoughts before we close?
I have a question.
Yes.
I don't do Facebook, but if I use the Saddleback Volunteer, could I use the Saddleback Volunteer email address to join the small group Facebook?
Yes, I think so. You might just have to create an account, and your email would be this @Saddleback Volunteer account. So I think that's possible.
So that's okay to do that with.
Yeah, it's just that at some point, if you wanted to make a change to your account and your email wasn't active, and they email you the link to make the change to something or to change a password or something, you might run into a complication if it's not active. But I don't see why we wouldn't keep your email active for that.
Jim, just a question on the Saddleback Volunteer email. Doesn't Saddleback use a Microsoft system? So it really means that our CLs have to check their email in 2 places now. Mm-hmm. How the people that use Saddleback Volunteer emails, anybody here on the meeting, how do you access your email?
Susan, you want to speak into that?
I just log into my Saddleback. Everything goes through Saddleback Volunteer.
So she goes to the web access to that email, and she checks it separately from her private email.
Well, here's an example. My wife is a ministry leader. She's not into computers. She has one email account, which is Gmail.
Yeah.
She has a Saddleback Volunteer email account, and I said, you need to check another email account. And her answer was exactly what I thought. Never will I do that. I'm going to check my Gmail account, and that's it. So what I did, I just went into the Saddleback Volunteer email account of hers and forwarded it to her Gmail.
That's fine.
Because it's a pain when you have to start checking multiple emails. Yeah. If you don't check your Saddleback Volunteer email account every day, you're going to miss emails. So, and that would be my response. If you have multiple email accounts and you have to log in with different passwords and different accounts, it'll work fine. If you're like me and you have one email inbox, you have to think that through.
And that's why we make it optional, Quint. It's not everybody has to have one. It's for those that want to use a Saddleback account.
Exactly. I just wanted to be sure. It's that you didn't tell me I had to check into log into another server to get this email.
Yeah, because I have the volunteer one, but I have my own personal one. But nothing from Saddleback comes to my personal one. Everything comes strictly to my Saddleback Volunteer.
Great.
For Saddleback.
All right.
You said that very clearly. Thank you, Susan.
Awesome.
Thanks, Quint. That's what I will do.
Well, thank you guys for your time. Again, I'm going to be sending you guys today some communication about summer nights and all that's happening with that. And then we'll be sending communication out about host training as well. So we'll get those 2 things rolling. And also as well, don't forget to send me a picture of yourself for those of you who are caring for groups. Susan, I don't know if you have groups under you right now. So
I think I have 2 left under me right now. One's a Spanish group and one's something else. I just looked, but all the 20s and 30s are now gone from me.
Great. So those of you who are caring for groups, send me a photo of yourself, and I'm going to send out a note just letting our hosts know who has their back, who's praying for them, who's rooting and cheering them on. And it's just a quick, simple email. We'll have your photo on there and probably have your email as well to have them be looking out for correspondence from you. So
Jim, I'd love it if you included a request for them to send us their photo.
Yes, I will do that as well.
That'd be miraculous if it happened.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And we can upload it to Group Manager as well.
Yeah.
So, very good. Well, let me pray to close. We're gonna pray for Sung Hai and Sung Hae, that she would feel better and get over the sickness that she has, and we'll go from there. So I'm gonna close the recording, and then we'll pray and go from there.